if the Prime Minister had any respect for John and the millions like him who sacrificed everything to follow the rules, he'd resign. Yeah. But he won't, because he doesn't respect John. No. Yeah. He doesn't respect the sacrifice of the British public. No. He is a man without shame. Yeah.
Well, the Prime Minister will address the Commons again today, Prime Minister's questions, and tomorrow will face a vote that will decide if there should be a formal investigation in whether he deliberately misled Parliament. Political reporter at Reaction, Bill Bowkett, joins us now in the studio. So we just had, it seemed like all day and all night last night, questions to him, seemed to go on forever. He's going to have to do it again today.
He will, unfortunately. And the thing is that he'll have to brazen out all that criticism once again from Sir Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, but this time he has 6 questions rather than one elongated response that he had yesterday. Quite a powerful one, actually, especially that anecdote of John Robinson, who was actually a constituent in Lichfield of Michael Fabricant, the Tory MP, who's been a firm defender of the Prime Minister. He was the one that got a lot of stack, I think, last week when defending the Prime Minister, saying, well, actually, teachers and nurses, they were also having drinks after work as well. So he'll have to do that again, but at the same time have to show that he's trying to move on from the crisis, come across as...
Here's what I think now. It doesn't matter who was having drinks or eating Quality Street or whatever the heck they were doing after work. The point is, they weren't supposed to be. So we can say they did it and they did it or whatever. If they had been caught, they would have been prosecuted or given a fixed penalty notice. He was caught. Why do we keep now deflecting all this whole issue?
I think it's because Labour MPs want him out. They want him ousted, hence why the Speaker, Sir Lindsay Hoyles, accepted a motion by the Labour Party to have a vote in the Commons tomorrow as to whether he should be investigated by the Standards and Privileges Committee, as whether he broke the ministerial code and deliberately misled Parliament, although it does seem slightly performative with the majority that the Tory government have.
Well, let's talk about that, because he is expected, as you say, to survive that vote tomorrow, not to be under pressure to have all of these emails and details of the Sue Gray report published in this parliamentary inquiry. But it's not a free vote. This is a heavily whipped vote tomorrow. Mark Harper, though, however, former supporter of the Prime Minister, wanted him to be, voted for him to become leader, supported him in Brexit, put it in a letter to the 1922 committee. Only one, though, to speak up yesterday as a backbencher. Do you think he's the only one thinking that, or could there be more trouble ahead?
I think there's lingering doubts within Tory MPs as to whether Boris Johnson is the right man to lead the Tory party going forward. I think on publicly, at least in my calculation, there's only 12 Conservative MPs who actually think that the Prime Minister should face voters at the next election, which is predicted to be either 2023 or 2024. But many MPs thinking actually now's not the right moment, given we've got the war in Ukraine, the Prime Minister's having to deal with the cost of living crisis, having to put his energy strategy into practice as well. And I think what you'll expect today from Prime Minister's questions is you're going to have a lot of open questions from Tory MPs, defending the Prime Minister, trying to move on from the crisis, given the poor polling that the government are having to suffer, and show that
So, Bill, you're saying that they're trying to move on from this crisis, but come whenever the general election is, he's toast. They're not going to put him forward. Is that what you're saying?
It's not looking rosy at the moment electorally for the party. I think in the council elections, they're definitely expected to lose many councillors, hundreds. I think I saw one projecting that he's losing up to 800 councillors. And current polling suggests that the Conservative Party are set to lose many Red Wall MPs and also seats in which they've had a stronghold for many years as well.
Just want to say to people watching, because many of you would be Red Wall voters as well, has he lost your vote or not? Has anything changed or not? Tweet us at GB news.
Yeah, it will be interesting, this by-election in Wakefield. There's some discussion that the Liberal Democrats are doing really well there now, which just seems extraordinary, doesn't it? These former red wall seats turned Tory, now turning possibly yellow. I mean, we'll yet to see. But I suppose that shows the sense of a lot of people in the country of being sort of politically homeless at the moment, because politicians aren't necessarily doing anything for anyone.
Definitely, and I think the other problem for the Tory party is not only have they spawned a swathe of apathy among the British population, of politics, of the Conservative Party, but the Conservative Party are starting to lose some of its values as well. You saw a YouGov poll yesterday showing that now the Tories are no longer leading Labour on the economy. If you think back in the 2019 election, Boris Johnson versus Jeremy Corbyn, the Conservative Party had a 32-point lead in terms of the economy, and now they're on zero because they've, ditched its principles as a low-tax, pro-entrepreneurial government as well. So it's going to be a tough, but I think if Boris Johnson can wave out this current Partygate scandal, hoping that there's not going to be any more fines, and as well as survive the May elections and indeed the rest of the parliamentary year, then there's a good chance that he will be leader for the Conservative Party come the next general election.
Interesting times indeed.
So he's been hit right, left and centre. You've got Partygate, you've got Ukraine, you've got Rwanda, which is now taking up a lot of time and the way people think. There was an interesting jostle in the House yesterday between Yvette Cooper from Labour and the Home Secretary Priti Patel, who wasn't taking any criticism that Yvette Cooper had to offer.
Mm-hmm. And you also had criticism from Theresa May as well, the former Prime Minister, the person supposedly behind the hostile environment as Home Secretary as well as Prime Minister, because the problem here is that none of the details around the scheme really been fleshed out. One of the key criticisms from Yvette Cooper is, well, there's £120 million for this trial with Rwanda, but how many people will that entail over how many years? And also there's now this worry as to, well, actually, when they do get sent off to Rwanda and they do get processed, so they're basically stuck there and they can't come back to the UK.
Of course, extra powerful from Theresa May because she used to be Home Secretary for so long, and she's renowned for her attention to detail.
Please let me tell you a story on that. Right? Here's a story on that, right? So I'm interviewing attention to detail Home Secretary Theresa May on Sky News, right? And I say to her, there are riots in Tottenham, and I say, do you intend, Home Secretary, to issue bring water cannon onto the streets to fight these riots? Please, I'd love a close-up here. This is lovely. This patch, she goes, where's two? This one. That is not the way we police in the United Kingdom. Really, said I? The last time I looked, there are 30 of them sitting at Belfast Airport, water cannon, which had just been deployed. This was a Monday morning, and it was a Sunday. I'd just flown out of Belfast, and there had been riots on the streets of Belfast, and 6 water cannon obviously deployed there. But she couldn't tell the difference as Home Secretary between what was the United Kingdom and what was England. But there we go. She fell. She fell, right? That's the woman with attention to detail.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed, Bill. Lovely to talk to you there. Bill Bowkett there, who's the political reporter at Reaction.